And we are live. Welcome to Queen Raae and the Nattermob Pirates and our Gatsby deep dives. The host, Fabio, is coming in a little later. We hope so. I'm trying to host a little bit today as well. So we have Pirate Paul with us. Wave.
Hello.
And then we have Pirate Scott. Hello.
Do I wait to be prompted to wave? Do I wait to say
you can wave.
Just wave.
Yeah, I said Pirate Scott. I said Pirate Scott. And then there's Pirate Ula. And Rich, we are lacking Rich today, so Ula will try to do some bantering, more bantering than he did last time. And the theme for today is Automagically, as I've stated, displaying these streams on our Nattermob.dev website. So by Automagically, I mean, instead of having to copy the YouTube link and then put it into some markdown file or put it into a CMS, we want to source these videos straight from YouTube and get them into the Gatsby sourceNodes system. So Paul has prepared how to do this and will try to take me through it with the help of Scott and Ula. I guess that's all we need for today, and then we'll just, or all we need for introductions, and then we'll just get straight into the coding. Okay, what do we need to do, Paul?
Okay, so what branch do you want? Do you want to make a feature branch? Or are you going to be extra professional and work on main?
I am going to make a feature branch. I usually always make a feature branch. So I also had to mind the chat a little bit, so I'll be a little more distracted than I was last time. So let's do a git checkout. YouTube, branch, YouTube. And we're on the feature branch.
Okay, so two dependencies that we're going to need today. The first is Google APIs.
And it's npm install
Google APIs.
Like this. APIs like this. Is it big enough? Google-APIs?
No hyphen, it's all one word.
Well, something is obviously on Google APIs, so let's not do that. You're saying, Scott? Oh, did we lose him?
Oh, I'm here.
He's back.
I was just picking my nose. I'm sure people don't want to say that.
Okay. I was hearing you, but I couldn't understand what you were saying. Okay, what's the other dependency we need?
And the other one is .env, DOTENV. So .env is going to allow us to access.
I have this text expander, so it wrote something when I said dot. So let's try it again. I closed it down. It actually changed it to the dot I use inside of my YouTube video titles. Yep, we got them.
Right, let's have a quick look at package.json. Just want to make sure the right ones went in before we try and do anything. Dependencies.
Let's go say hi in chat.
Yeah, Google APIs and .env. So Google APIs is going to be the authentication wrapper, which will allow us to connect to the YouTube API.
I just have to jump in. So this is not a POW stream, but we'll do it anyway. Pow, 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 pow. Sorry.
I could be doing anything because I'm behind. I'm behind one of the banners, so you can't see what I'm doing. I was doing the actions, honestly.
Well, if you want to, I can just move Ula down there, and then we can all see what you're doing.
What?
So we can't see Ula's hat then.
Okay, we were supposed to focus on the code in the beginning, so I'm going to try and reel myself back in. Okay, what were you saying, Paul?
Okay, so the Google APIs is a client or a Node.js client for Google APIs. We're going to use it in
Okay.
Gatsby Node shortly, but it's an authentication wrapper that will allow us to connect to the Google APIs to pull YouTube data, and .env is just a node package that will allow us to access environment variables, which I believe you would have already done because I can see your .env development and .env production. But if you just ping open the .env example.
Well, I might have copied it in there too, so let's not look at that.
Okay, fine. Okay, well, all it's going to be is.
Well, let's look at our file changes. No, I took that out. Okay, so that should be good.
All it's going to be
there
is a reference to a key called what was it? Get Google API YouTube or something. So if you start seeing that in our code, that's what it is. Yeah, there you go. Google API key. So if you start seeing that, that's what we do. So you can get your own one from the Google Developer Console. It's the same API for every one of their APIs. We're just going to be looking at YouTube today, but there's about 1 million, but it's the same API key for all. Okay, so
and it's version 71. That's like the largest version number I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? All right, so
that is mad.
Get cracking then. So create a Gatsby-node.js at the root of your project.
Okay. And
in there, we want to do exports with an S. .sourceNodes, which is Pascal case.
Yep. And then it's equals like that.
Yep, and then an arrow function. Yep.
Yeah.
Fat arrow, and get the curlies on it. That's it. And then just quickly, let's put in a console log, and I'll explain what sourceNodes is. We just need something that we can see in the terminal when you run it.
So sourceNode.
So sourceNodes is one of Gatsby's extension points to Gatsby Node. So it's part of APIs that we can hook into that run at different stages of the Gatsby build process. In this case, sourceNodes, you'll see it shortly. It runs quite early on in the build step. So if you run, what do we have? NPM run build was one of our scripts.
Yeah, and develop. Can I do the develop, or do you want to make the build?
Run
build. So there are like there's like a ton of these that you can hook into in different like parts of the life cycle, I guess, or the build cycle.
Yeah. So if
you have this one on post bootstrap, it says here, and then on pre-extract queries, you can see some of them.
So where's our log? Should be somewhere. There it is, right at the top. Under 0.
There, sourceNode. Yeah, so it's one of the first ones that I run, because after that, so on pre-bootstrap is run, and then there are tons of other things being run. On post build is even one.
Yeah, I think it's also worth pointing out as well. Like, I know there's a lot of chatter around, you know, is Gatsby fast? Is this fast? Is that fast? Just bear in mind something like export sourceNodes, which runs very early on in the Gatsby build step. If you were to source 1 billion videos in here and your build slows down, like have a look at the Gatsby process, because they run quick. The thing that might be slowing it down is something that you've added through the extension points. Yeah. And if you put these logs in and have a look, you can see where in the build step they happen. But anyway, that's just a little trick to help.
And I guess you can also see it on these like seconds here. I've never looked at those before, but there's like little timings in here as well.
Yeah. And normally,
but we have Gabby in the chat, so just like
Gabby,
everyone, Gabby.
Hey, Gabby.
We are gonna learn her on screen one of these days.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll see. But it's nice to have you in the chat, Gabby. She's one of the original Natter poppers. Okay, so what do we want to do here in sourceNodes?
Okay, so right at the top now, we're going to have to get our Google APIs in. So we want to do const outside of that export sourceNodes right at the top.
Yep.
Your screen is very delayed. I can't really see if you're doing
I'm
any,
gonna-
that's the kind of thing you're typing.
No, but I kind of know what I'm doing. So just like keep on talking, and then I'll
Okay, so
say
watching
stop
on
if
YouTube,
you're
Tom?
like
Are you
moving
watching
too
it?
fast.
It would be const, and it's a named import of Google, and equals require Google APIs.
Equals, and I always get messed up with like this is not being import, but that we can talk about on another stream. Google APIs. You said
Yep,
a named import Google, right?
Yep, that's fine. And then somewhere underneath that console log in sourceNodes, we're going to do const, call it YouTube, all lowercase.
Yep.
Equals google.youtube, and then open parentheses, and its first argument is an object.
Okay.
Yep.
So
and
do you want to write?
Then we need the first key, which is version, which is going to be a string of v3.
Even suggested that. Nice. Yeah.
And then we need auth, A-U-T-H, and that's going to be our process.m Google_API_key.
Process, but we haven't gotten our ends yet. But
oh yes, good point.
But let's finish this thought, and then we'll do that. Okay, I got the auth in. I got the version.
Right.
Is there anything more I need?
Not for the moment, but maybe we should tackle this env stuff first. I had it later on, but that's fine. We can do it. So how do you want to do it? So we discussed this. Do you want to do it in Gatsby config, or do you want to do it in Gatsby node?
Let's just do it in Gatsby node for tonight, and then we can move it when we need to.
All right. So you're going to need to do right at the top. Then it will be require parentheses, and then in a string.
I cannot like. I need a new keyboard. I keep saying that, but I need Anyway, require. Require. And then .n, right?
No, sorry. So no const. It's just require.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah, and then config. First argument is a object with path.
Path.env.
Yeah, and that's going to be .env, and then it's a string literal, so process.env node_env.
Process. So listen to this, like how. Well, I shouldn't talk while doing this, but you are using very precise language, Paul.
I'm trying.
Okay, I think we got it.
Well, I hope I'm going to have to be precise, because when you say yeah, about 30 seconds later, your screen updates. So I don't actually know if it's in or not. I'm going to take your word for it. Right,
I'm
so
sorry,
now
my internet is so bad. I have like StreamYard is telling me that I have 1 bar tonight, so I'm going to try and reset everything for next Friday. But
okay.
yeah.
All right. So basically, now we've got the authentication wrapper, which is what Google APIs is. We're telling it we're going to use v3 of the Google API. It's the YouTube constructor. We've passed in the Google API from our process, our environment variables, and by requiring .env at the top means we can access the node env. I guess now underneath that YouTube constructor, we can do a YouTube.search.
YouTube.search.
Yep. And it then .list as a function. First argument is an object.
An object. YouTube search lists.
Yeah. And then second argument is a function. So after the object.
You want an anonymous arrow function?
Yes. That's it. And then the first argument of the anonymous arrow function is going to be error, and the second is response.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're asking it to list something with some parameters we haven't put in yet. And then what we get back is either an error or a response.
Yeah.
And as I've realized with node stuff, it's often that thing where it's like error response and that you get it back as a function.
Yeah.
Or it's calling that function. I mean, callback function. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's do if error and then throw if there's an error and do console log error, all that jazz, just to make sure it doesn't exit without us knowing.
Error. And then else you want to console log the response?
Yep, perfect. Well, you don't need the else. You can just do it underneath the if you want.
I don't need the what?
You don't need the else because we're going to throw. So
oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Depends on your style though. Sometimes okay.
Right.
With your coding style.
I mean, either or, to be honest. Right. So we've got the error object, response object. If there's an error, we throw. If there's a response, we're going to log it. Now we need to pass the params to the YouTube search list function. So in that object is the first argument. We're going to need the first key, which is channel ID. Just put it as an empty string at the moment because we need to go find it. And this will be Pascal case channel ID. Yeah. And then we need part. And this is a specific search method on the YouTube API, and it's going to be snippet as a string.
Oh, sorry, part. And it's a snippet. It's snippet as a string. Yeah.
And then max results, Pascal case. And now this defaults to 50, but I'm going to say let's set it to 2 just in case we hit our quota in dev, and then it will ruin everything because we need a new Google API key. And then we need order, so we'll order them by date, which is a string.
Oh, a string. So obviously YouTube or Google has been doing their work because I'm getting suggestions for all of these params. So I guess they have some real typings in their API module there.
Yeah, it could be. And then the last one is type, which is going to be video. I noticed when I was having a sneak peek around your channel, you've got a couple of playlists in there. So they get a little complicated. So if we just define it as video, it will only return the videos.
Okay.
Right. And then the last bit is your channel ID, which if you go to your channel on YouTube, it will be the last part of the URL.
Yeah, because I don't think I have a nice channel ID like you, Scott. Do you have a proper channel ID, Scott?
I do, I think.
Yeah,
I set it a while back, and it had like I title cased it, and for some reason, if you put in like all lowercase Scott Spence, it didn't do anything.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a bit weird. It just redirects to that janky channel ID anyway. So I don't know. I've got a short URL.
I just had to check Spence because I had the proper one because I had this channel for ages and ages, but then. Well, you're not showing up on Spence, so let's skip that. I had like a personal YouTube for like ages and ages that I didn't really use, and then I wanted to continue using that, and then I made it into one of these like brand channels, and then I lost mine. I had Benedicta Raae as like the full path, so I'm a little niffed about that.
Oh, but it's actually called Scott Spence, please.
Okay, I think that's my channel ID.
Okay. So if you say.
Yeah, that looks right. I'm looking at. Yeah, that looks fine.
So right, you had one. Is it proper, Scott? Should we show it to people? It's like YouTube envy here for me. If you have one.
YouTube. YouTube.com. I don't know how to access it though. And then how do you do it from there? You did.
Oh, there you go.
I just got it under youtube.com, Scott Spence, please. And it redirects to my channel.
It redirects, but it doesn't say it up here in the URL like it should.
No, that's what I say. It just redirects to the channel ID. But it's like a nice fancy URL, I guess.
It is. Well, maybe mine still redirects. Sorry, Paul, we're on a different track here. We're like YouTube.
I'm having a great time.
We're like YouTube. No, it doesn't work. Okay, let's get back to the code.
No,
let's see what happens.
Get rid of the channel. Get rid of channel. B. And then
get rid of channel.
YouTube. Yeah. And just do Benedict and Ray.
Everybody's going down this rabbit hole. Ola, I don't think you're doing a good job bantering.
It
You're right.
The mute button.
I'm not.
You're not. Oh, this is another one. Oh, this is another older one. Wow, I have several YouTube channels. This is a app I made in 9 years ago. Wow. Okay, well, let me figure that out at some point. Anyway, back to the coding. And if anybody else has a YouTube channel, drop the link in the chat so everybody can see. Okay, Paul.
Right.
I'm back.
So
I'm back.
Remove that console log for source nodes at the top. We've you know that extension point runs, but leave the console log for the response in.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you run npm run build, what we should see is the last 2 videos from your YouTube channel in the terminal there.
Oh, it's missing a valid API key. So I'm gonna check that out. So I'm gonna take this off screen, and then you can banter.
Okay, if that doesn't work, Benedict,
we'll
put the n variable in Gatsby config. But API key should be valid.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Paul, why B's doing this? Can you go over what was actually going on in the API call?
So that is an API call for the search.
Well, we can't really talk it through now because it's not on the screen. But
I can pull it back up. I had only put the variable into the development. So, but now it's on here, Paul. So you can talk us through it.
So the search endpoint is a way to search YouTube rather, and list gives us a list of videos for the channel ID that we've passed in. The snippet bit that we put is a bit. I guess you could describe it like, what bits of information do you want from the YouTube channel? So you'll see from the response.
The object for the search bit, yeah. So I'm just trying to pick through. So it's exporting a function called sourceNodes, right? And then that bit just below it is the config, I'm guessing, const YouTubes, and then that google.youtube is just the bits you're passing into the actual search part. And then from line 10 down to 26 is the actual, or 25 or whatever, is the actual search bit, right? Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, the first bit I can get from 11 to 17, I can sort of get, but then 18 to 25 there, is that like a callback?
Yeah, so that's just a standard error response callback.
Yeah, they messed me up in the beginning because Node has a very specific. So when you're doing Node coding, they often like these callbacks. They usually like these callbacks. So instead of doing an await and then, like we usually do in front end, now we either do a then or an await that I'm used to in like front end code. The old style, or I wouldn't say the old style, but older style is to pass in a callback function. Yeah. And it's still prevalent in like Node only code. So this is a callback, then it's a function that will be called when YouTube is done searching. When it's done with its search, it will take the result and then put it into the response here, and if it's an error, it will give it into the error. And somehow they always do error first, even though you need it, but I think it's so you shouldn't skip it. That's at least what a guy said on one of my YouTube videos, that they put the error first because then you have to define it.
Yeah, I mean,
instead
Node is very synchronous as well. So like if there's ever a problem, the process just exits, and so you don't end up with like erroneous processes running like we do in front end. Like this will just go nope, and it will just stop. And so we need to handle those things, otherwise you don't know necessarily what's gone on. I mean, you could console log the error as well if you really wanted to find out what actually caused the process to exit. But all being well, this shouldn't error now, right? So.
But also interestingly, you will see the code sometimes like this, because we could create a function here that is called callback.
Yeah, you could do that.
And then we send the callback in as
yeah.
So that's also a way of doing it, but it's just kind of standard practice to do it as an so-called an anonymous function, because then it's like shorter, I guess, to write.
Okay.
And you could also do.
So let's just be derailing what's going on.
You could also do. Yeah, you could also just do a regular function like this. But I like the error functions. It's just a way of as the style. Okay. Should we try and run it? Is that what you're saying again? Should we try and run it again?
You can run build.
Let's see. Well, the request is missing. Still? I thought I fixed it. Okay. You guys chatter among yourselves again. And then all I can tell is that Kyle should watch this because he wanted to source his videos, right?
No!
No?
No.
Is there
Kyle Matthews, he was doing this thing on the YouTube, and then he was talking about YouTube on his YouTube thing. But I checked it again today. He's not sourcing anything. He's just tagging his blog post with YouTube. Yeah. So
I should also maybe point out as well, there are Gatsby plugins that will do this, and there's three that currently exists, one for each of the API versions. But I guess because they're actual plugins, they let you do an awful lot more than what we need to do. Yeah. And I guess if we'd done this on stream and I'd gone, Benedicte, install the YouTube plugin, add it to Gatsby config, and voila, like we've got YouTube videos. It's nobody knows what's happened, and I think it's kind of like what we did last week with building the Gatsby site from scratch. Like the reason we didn't use a starter was because when you talk through it, you actually go, oh, there's not actually that much to it. So it's kind of like demystifying it, and it's the same with this. Like all of the source plugins out there will use the sourceNodes extension point because that's the part of the Gatsby build step that you need to get involved with. And once you have your data, the bit that we'll do next is pass it into sort of Gatsby's Redux store effectively. And then we can query it with GraphQL later. And so if we were to have used a plugin, we wouldn't have been able to talk about that. Hopefully, if we can get these M variables working, we can move on to that bit.
And I am so conscious now because that not everybody maybe on the stream knows, but I exposed my credit card on a stream. So I am trying to be very mindful about not
I mean, to be fair, if this API key, if you have to build an API key, just revoke it and build a new one. Like, it's not a big deal. It doesn't give it away.
But we'll see. I'm going to check here.
But on 100 Days of Gatsby, I spent a week trying to get my .env variable working for the.
Well, I don't normally put it in Gatsby node. I would put it in Gatsby config because then it's available on both processes. But
I did.
I don't know. Maybe it's easier if we just do it in Gatsby node. I don't know.
I think I got it working. I'm just going to clear the console because now I have logged it. I had done something wrong in setting up the .env, some kind of spelling mistake. So we're just going to go back.
What, the name of the files, was it?
I think so.
Okay.
So if we do it again now. Hopefully it's going to work. We are being cool under pressure.
Yes. Cool.
Wait, that's looking promising.
Yes. There we have it. So there's all kinds of things here.
Yeah, so the bit that we want to look at, and I think if we update the console logs, instead of it being response, instead of just logging the response, if we do response.data.items and run the build again.
So meticulous.
We should get a nice, well, we should get a list, we should get an array of 2 YouTube videos. And I'm wondering if this actual video will appear in this list as the first one. I don't know whether,
I don't know, because I have 2 other ones scheduled. So I think.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
No, but here there's deploy minimal site. That was last week's.
Yeah, and then the first one.
Yeah, that's this week's.
Yeah,
cool.
So very meta.
Meta. Okay, cool.
So now we have got data. So we've got a response from the API, and we're going to now use this data and use another one of Gatsby's actions. I think it's an action, which will be create node. So step 1 is we're going to have to turn this function.
I'm going to commit.
Okay. Yep. Fine.
Hitting the YouTube endpoint.
So what was it you did wrong that made the .env thing don't work?
I am not completely sure. I ended up copy pasting it for somewhere else. So I think something in the path here was wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what happens when you write everything out yourself sometimes, especially on stream. Why are we talking about Carly Rae? I'm just putting that.
I don't know.
Callback functions.
Callback functions.
Is it from a song?
Callback functions.
Yeah.
Is it Call Me Maybe?
Oh yeah, Call Me Maybe. Callback functions.
Is that her? Okay, I didn't know.
I love it. Okay, so what we want to do now is want to take each of these items, and then we want to create the Gatsby nodes so that we can later do a GraphQL search request for them, right?
Query, yeah.
Query. GraphQL query.
Okay.
It's good that you have the vocab.
Right. So step 1 is going to be we have to turn this sourceNodes function into an async function because we need to await the response. So at the top.
Yep. Async.
Yeah. So
talk about the business, Paul.
Async.
It's like stop fucking about. We just want to get the thing working. Come on.
And then go down to where the response is.
Yeah.
And instead of logging out the response, we will do. Oh, hang on. We need to turn the YouTube into an await. Sorry, I skipped a step. Scrolled up a little bit. Yeah, await YouTube search.list. Yep. Okay, and then with the response, we are now going to do response.data.items.for each.
Response.data.items.for, and I never remember. Is it one word? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pascal case.
Yeah. And then element. So let's make it video then instead of element.
Yep. And we will need an index, so you'll need to parenthesize that video.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. Index.
Perfect. Right, and then at the top of the sourceNodes functions, we are going to destructure actions, which is available on a number, pretty much all of the Google Node the Gatsby Node APIs.
Yeah.
And we also want to grab create node ID and create content digest, and we're going to use those in a minute.
But is action the first argument?
Actions will be the first.
So I'm going to destructure that and do create node.
Sorry, they'll all be destructured. So actions, create node, and actions, create node ID, and create content digest.
Create node ID and sorry, I always just copy paste this, so we'll see how it goes.
create content digest.
Content digest. That just sounds very weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so now in our for each, we can do actions.create node, which will have a single argument of an object.
A video then, or no?
So an object is the first, and then we're going to spread the response of video.
So everything that's on video will then be a part of this node.
And then comma, and we want the ID. That video won't be.
Oh, the index or the ID?
Hang on, come back a step. So we don't need the curly boys around video. It's just one argument.
Ah, okay.
So after video, well, sorry, there will be an object. The first argument of create node is an object, but all the params are comma separated.
Okay. Are we good now? Should I have a go and look at it in the docs?
I have to wait for your screen to update. No idea what you've written.
Well, see, then we do what I would do, which is go to the, I'll just go to the Gatsby docs and do create node Gatsby docs, and then I copy paste whatever is in the, in there. Create. Which one are we on? We are on create nodes.
It's actions create node. I mean, I can talk you through it. It's about 2 lines. We just need to put a curly bracket around video.
Yeah, I know, but it's the internet is so bad. I'm sorry. So here we have one. So we want to create node, and that's going to be, oh yes, you just want to do one of these. Okay. So we're just going to spread everything. That's what you're saying. And then we need to create a node ID. Okay. Okay, so I've spread the video, and then you want the ID to be index.
Yeah, so all of these need to be in the first object argument.
Okay.
So a curly bracket around all of it.
Then I get it. Sorry. Okay, like this.
That's it. Yes.
Yes.
Right. So ID will be create node ID as a function.
Yeah.
And it will be a template literal. Well, actually, will it be a template? Yeah, it will be a template literal. Now, what do we want to call the GraphQL node? When I was writing this, I decided to call it YouTube.
Okay.
Which made sense, but do you want to call it something else?
Well, we can just do UT. Because I have so little space here.
And then just tack on the index so that it's in,
But wouldn't it be better to do the video ID?
Oh yeah, I mean you can do, but we don't. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We might not query the video ID later.
Okay.
It depends because we might not spread the contents of the video object into the node. I just did it because it's the easiest.
Okay, so we'll just do an index. So the unique kind of Gatsby. So this is giving us the unique Gatsby node ID. So we're saying the unique thing will be YouTube, and then whatever number video it is, it's going to be our ID for now.
It will actually come out as like a hashed ID anyway. We won't see YT in it. It's just the create node ID uses the strings and the values to create something unique. So create node ID is like a Gatsby helper function.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so after ID,
totally clear, right, for everyone. It's like that's how they do it, of course. Okay.
So after the create node ID, we want to do a comma and we want to make an internal, which is an object.
Okay.
And we want to type. And I guess, do you want to call this YT as well, the string YT?
Yes.
And then we want content digest. and we'll use the helper function, create content digest, and pass in the video object.
I'm guessing this will in some way create like a hash so that it knows if it's changed or not.
Well, so the docs say that create content digest is used internally by Gatsby to avoid to refresh stale nodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't really find anywhere that explains how it handles this, because what's actually happening here with create node is we're pushing, it's like a dispatch in Redux where we push something into a Redux store. So Gatsby uses Redux under the hood, and then we can query it later. But I don't know how it handles stale nodes and how it handles whether it refreshes on hot reload and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something to do with that. It's perhaps another deep dive.
Yeah, but it's something to do with that, so that it knows like if index so-and-so changes its digest, then obviously it's been updated and Gatsby needs to do something to clear out some kind of cache or something. Yeah.
I imagine it will be something to do with Redux somewhere, but
yeah.
I don't know. Right.
So this is what we don't need to know every detail, but we need to know it needs to be there. Otherwise things will get funky, I think.
Yeah. So should we just talk back over what we did here? Because this is kind of a crucial step.
Well, maybe Scott has some questions. He had very good questions earlier. Oh, he's gone.
He left.
I just love the sound of the seagulls, Paul. I love it.
Well, you know, keeping it piratical, aren't I? I'm just in the galley. Is that the right part of a boat? There's a kitchen, the galley. Is it a galley?
Yes, it is.
There you go.
So did you have any questions about this, Scott?
No, this looks like Gatsby land to me, really. So I'm okay with this. It's just the callback stuff. There's a bit before my time. I've been doing web dev now for what? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years maybe. And this, I don't know, the callback stuff was always like, I never really got it. So I've always gone with then or async await.
Yeah.
So it was just the callback stuff I couldn't really get my head around.
But so what we're doing now is we're taking all our items on our data on our response, which then we know our videos. So I called it a video to make it more clear. And then for each of these videos, we are creating a node with all of the data from the video we got in the response. And then in addition, we're creating an ID for Gatsby. And we're also creating some internal things for Gatsby, giving it the type, and then doing this content digest thing that we talked about.
There is one other thing I want to bring up here. So in the docs for create node, I think I've read this correctly, but it mentions that underneath type, you should have a parent of null and a child of an empty array. And it says they're required, but if you don't include them, it does an error. And I can't see what use having a key with a null and an empty array is going to do. So I purposely left them out, but you will see in the docs that they're there. But I don't know why you'd need them, for this purpose anyway, it doesn't seem to matter. So
yeah, but it could be also because I read that when I made a source plugin long time ago. It might also be that it was needed because I think mine errored out if I didn't put that in there years ago. But maybe they've done some changes.
Yeah, maybe it changed. I don't know. I mean, I was just curious, and maybe I misread it because the example they give, it's not in like a table where it says the required args. It's got like some comments saying this is required, and then later on it says this is optional. I wasn't sure which one was. But let's run a build again just to make sure it doesn't error. If that doesn't error, then we can run develop and we can open up graphical, and we should see our new node of type YT.
Well, I still have the response in there. That's why the console log. That's why it all came up.
Can I just ask who Flocky is? Because apparently he's not got anything on me.
I think there's like this talk. Ola, are you in on this talk in the chat?
Yes. Yes. Flocky. Yeah.
Which series is this you're talking about?
It's Vikings. Vikings.
Oh.
You know, the guys with the pointy things on their helmet.
I don't have a beard. I can't be a Viking. I don't have a beard. So.
Yes, you can.
So I think
there were lots of female Vikings. They had no beards.
that is actually true. Like side note, they found a female anthropologist in Norway was like, well, the hips on this Viking king is a little too small. It's not for to be a man. And the other people in the anthropology department was like, no, it's a man. He was buried with weapons. And then it took her, I think, 10 years or 15 years. And in the end, they did like a modern DNA sample on the skeleton. And lo and behold, it was a woman. So just because the skeleton was buried with weapons and obviously was a warrior doesn't mean it was default male. So a little info there for everyone. I think Gabby will appreciate that tidbit. So we had Viking queens in our country. Yeah.
So who was this Floki guy? Was that a question, like an actual question, or no?
I've seen that series, and Floki is the guy that builds the ships to do all the invasions, and he's like the main builder guy. And you do sound very much like him, Ola.
Yeah, but this is like he's got nothing on Scott. Was like the comment why Scott was asking who this person was.
I build my ships in code.
Yeah. You build your ships in code.
Yeah, on their website.
And then somebody's asking, is the pointy helmet thing a popular false thing? I think Ola knows this more than me. If they had pointy helmets.
Yes, the horn thing is probably the so-called Germans, which was 2,000 years earlier when they were in the late Roman Republic, 100 before Christ, and after that, the Romans were fighting the Germans a lot, and they had probably helmets with horns, but you don't know how much of it is actually propaganda. But those Germans, a lot of them were Danish, so it's the same dudes that came to Britain 1,000 years later, but they had dropped the whole horn thing. That was out.
Yeah,
in the Vikings. Well, the Vikings, they you don't want horns on your helmet when you're sailing a ship, with the sail and everything.
Health and safety.
Yeah. You get fired. You brought your helmet with a horse head. You're off.
And Ola would know because he has crossed the Atlantic on a sailboat with his father and sister and some other people.
Nobody had helmets with horns. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, let's open up. We are.
But I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Fabio in the waiting room?
Oh, I have.
Oh God.
Check it.
I need to check that out. I'm sorry if he is in the waiting room and I have not seen him.
I don't know how to check that.
No, he is not in the waiting room. I think I would have gotten. He got stuck in a meeting. He works on American time, so he's like, "This is work hours."
Let's call him up. Let's crash the meeting.
I don't see them though, Paul. Where are they? My YouTube videos.
Dun, dun, dun. They are not there.
Dun, dun, dun.
There should be on the left-hand side a YT and an all YT. So let's go back over the code. What happened? That's not an old graphical window that you had open by any chance, is it?
I'm just gonna see.
Maybe.
I think. Yeah.
But it was MDX in there, so I'm guessing so. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fabio said that I can see now that I have a WhatsApp message. So he said that he is late. Okay. What were we talking about?
I'll tell you what, let's do one thing first. Go back to your terminal and run a clean first, and then run develop again, or run a clean, then run a build, then run develop, just to be absolutely certain. These aren't always necessary, but we have run this before, so it's a clean.
And hopefully so next week we are hoping then to display these videos on the site. So today was sourcing them, and then next week we'll be displaying them if we manage to source them. So clean, and then another develop, right?
Yeah. I mean, we could remove that console log as well. I can't imagine for a moment that would make any difference, but...
But do we need to await these create nodes? No.
Well, we were awaiting the YouTube search, right? So by the time the response comes back, well, that will be the next step. We'll put a login to see if the video in the for each is actually there, to make sure that when we pass it on to create node, there is something to pass on. I mean, everything looks all right. Internal type, content digest.
Nikki, next week's a CSS stream.
Yeah.
For the styling.
So
I spent the best part of 2 hours this morning trying to send a Google, what they call Google Charts chart, and oh man,
it's here. It is. Yes. Yes.
ID snippet. So let's not do this. Description, title, publish time, channel title.
We'll drink to that.
So there you go. So this is basically what comes back from a snippet. So I think these are all the things that you need, right?
Yes. Okay, I drink to that. That.
Okay, cheers,
everyone.
All right, good night.
Cheers.
Just
quit.
So what happened then? Okay. So we got the response from YouTube, created the node, which stores it in Redux, which allows us to then query it using graphical or GraphQL, which is what we're seeing here. So taking the response, pumping it into Gatsby land, and then querying it the way you would anything else in Gatsby land, which is what you'd normally see if you had a plugin to do the same thing. But now we've got complete control over what that YT node contains. So if we wanted to add anything else, we could.
And then I think...
So can we just clear up that Gatsby uses Redux in the background and we don't actually touch any of it?
I think these create node are actions that then get sent to the Redux store. So every time you then send an action create node, the Redux store then does something and adds it to the Redux store.
Yeah,
but we don't.
So but as abstracted away from the user, aren't they?
Yeah. So as users of Gatsby, we never really do anything with the Redux stuff. But I have seen sometimes when I get errors or if I do something, I've sometimes seen kind of Redux terminology show up in the kind of console log or errors or whatever, like trace, error trace. So it's nice to know that like it's there in case you see some of that terminology.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of makes sense because it's like GraphQL is a query language. So it has to query data from somewhere. So typically it would be, you know, an API or something on remote, but this is local development. Yet we have this data, it has to go somewhere. And I guess this is React. So Redux is an obvious choice, but it's kind of hidden from us. But, you know, those actions are very similar to how you would dispatch in Redux anyway. It's just rather than using Redux methods to retrieve the object, we use GraphQL, and that's just common throughout all of the Gatsby workflow.
So it's kind of like the like a mini database for Gatsby.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a data store, and the create node action stores on the Redux nodes object, so that if we were to ever dig into the Redux side of it, there would be something in Gatsby land called nodes, and that's where all of our stuff would be.
Yeah. And this then is also what they call the content mesh that we can then source data from all different kind of sources, and we get it into kind of a unified format, and then we can pluck whatever we need and put it on our site, instead of what we often would do in other frameworks, is that we would just like call and get that response, and then maybe just create pages from that response, and then create some other pages from another response. But here we kind of put it, we shape it into nodes, and then we can use the nodes in the same way for all of the different node types that we have. I kind of like it. It gets very like structured and organized, but it's a little more cumbersome. But I think it's good if for like projects that are going to live for a while to have that structure. But if you're just going to make a prototype, there's other ways of getting here faster.
True, but I guess the other advantage of having it available in sort of Gatsby's data store is that now Gatsby can use that to statically generate the page. So these YouTube descriptions and titles will be baked right into our HTML page, which means it will be faster to load, and it's already going to be search engine optimized because they'll exist in the page. Whereas if you do a client-side request, it won't be there.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking the client side, but for one time I just couldn't be bothered, and I just created pages and create in Gatsby node. But that was before that new route API. So then I had to create the pages anyway. I just created them straight from the response instead of going past the content mesh kind of thinking. But that got annoying later when I wanted to then query it in more of a Gatsby format later on. So this is all good. And somebody said, so next week is going to be a CSS stream, and it's not, because we will still not style this. So it will all be how to query the data and how to be smart about that, and maybe create like an index page, maybe create like a filtering widget, stuff like that. But we're not going to be doing any design on next stream either. So all functionality.
Yeah. But since we are talking about CSS, maybe we just have a think about it. What should we use to style it? I mean, we had previously mentioned theme UI, but I was wondering, just to float the idea out there, what are your thoughts on Tailwind?
I want to do theme UI.
Okay, fine. Well, good news. The hot reload bug has just been fixed as well, so that's fine.
The queen demands. Ola, what did you want to say?
Yes. So I just watched, to prepare for this, I just watched Vespos' video 26 on his Master Gatsby course. And then when he had done this stuff, he said what Paul said earlier, that this is what they do in all the plugins, you know? So they do just this. So that's I think that's very valuable to go through it and do it yourself, so that you know what's actually happening inside a plugin. And then maybe one day you make a plugin. Yeah, I want to make a plugin. There you go. That's him. Bring up the picture of Vespos. Where's the picture?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it doesn't say sourcing data from a CMS, so that's what he does.
No. That's not it. That's the earlier video.
Oh, okay.
Sourcing data from REST API. It's on further to the side. There he is. There
we have it. Sourcing data from a REST API.
That's scope CSS. Yes. No. That's it.
So you can go watch Vespos' course, or you can watch our stream. No, just kidding. Watch both.
Vespos said that. And I want to make a plugin.
I feel validated, the fact that Wes Boss, the great Wes Boss, said the same thing. I'm like, oh, good. I'm not just talking rubbish then. That's not enough.
Wes Boss.
But I guess the fun thing was that he was sourcing ales, which would be very on point for our like pirate theme. So that's fun.
You're saying Wes Boss is a pirate?
I am.
Yes.
So I guess that was Ola's plug. He doesn't get any more plugs. He has enjoyed Vespos' Gatsby course. So I don't know if anybody else has any plugs they want to plug, because it's now an hour.
Oh, Paul is a plug.
I have a plug.
Paul has a plug. Yeah.
I have an eco-friendly plug. So I wrote a post this week for Gatsby about how eco-friendly Gatsby Cloud can be, and I did a bit of a head-to-head showdown between traditional WordPress and Gatsby using the Gatsby source WordPress plugin. /blog, I think. I don't know where that link's gone, but it's /blog.
Yeah, where's the blog link?
I don't know, yeah, it's disappeared. /blog, I think you can get to it.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
There we are.
Better, faster, greener. So,
and there's a photo of Paul, since we have a photo of West Boss.
Yeah, there he is. Why do you not get excited when you see my picture, Ola?
I'm happy.
I am. But so Scott is saying tailwind, 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 tailwind. Do you have anything you want to plug, Scott, other than tailwind?
No, I've just been working on my GitHub contributions sort of serverless function today. It's sort of an extension of what we did with Fabio the other week.
Oh.
Where?
What should I
just
pull
shows, up? Oh God! Right. Let me find a link. So it's ghui.vercel.app, and then you have to specify if you want like.
You'll have to put it in the chat.
It's I'll put it in the chat. It's basically it'll just, if you pop in like your GitHub username and your
I think you can put it in the private chat to me, and I will pull it up, Scott. Yeah.
So if you just switch out your username with your GitHub username and heat map, and there's one for Pi. The Pi one.
Okay, so if I do raae here, then I get to see my own.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not raae 10. I'm raae. I am not raae 10. I'm raae.
That just render. Yeah, and if you change Pi,
cool.
Heat. If you change heat to
Pi,
and it will show you your language split for the last 20 repositories.
Oh, did I write Pi wrong?
Oh, take off and interactive true. Oh no, sorry, take off year. Yeah, because there's no year. Yeah, that's it. Because there's no year in that one. And it's the same sort of thing with it. And if you take off the and interactive, it just renders a PNG. So JavaScript to CSS, Ray.
What am I? A JavaScript developer? I think somebody is trying
I've been working on that for my site.
So, Rook, are you saying we should do Tailwind? Is that what you're saying?
So,
let us know in the chat.
I'm just reading the comments. Apparently, I'm using my mic wrong.
Yeah, it should be in the front, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got it in front of me because then I knock it over and bump my face on it when I'm looking. So that's why. But I think I had it pointed in the wrong direction, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, the sound is better. You need to get one of these, Paul. One of these, like mic arms.
One step at a time. I've only had a desk for a day, well, a table for a day.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
So Ruck says theme UI with the Tailwind preset.
Yeah.
You got to look it up, Paul.
Well, I mean, I don't mind using Tailwind if we use Tailwind. But,
it's either or, isn't it, really?
If we're going to use theme UI, we might as well talk about like theme UI stuff. Whereas if we use Tailwind, then we can talk about Tailwind stuff, mixing the two. Again, the preset stuff is the same as why we didn't use a plugin and why we didn't use a starter, is because it doesn't explain anything really. If you just install theme UI and then add a preset, it's a bit like, huzzah, it works, but we don't know why it works.
Yep. Okay, so we will talk about that in the discussions on our GitHub repository. If anyone is interested.
Yes, are you plugging that?
So that will be my plug. Yes. We have started this discussion space on the Nattermob.dev GitHub repository, and you can then come with suggestions of topics that we should do on these streams, and also join the discussions on the ones that I have started already. So for instance, for notification, that would be fun if people would chime in, because YouTube notification is really bad, and it could be fun to like make a custom notification system. So I wrote email, SMS, browser notifications, and then Paul said that, yeah, we could do it as a progressive web app and then create push notifications. So that could be super interesting for me, at least, because that's something I need for my other project, Pal. So Paul can teach me, and then I can do that. So if you have any suggestions, and we can do, anybody can then start the CSS discussion if they like, and come with their opinions. And I might listen, but as a queen, I do have final say.
Click on the 404. Click on the 404.
Yep. So here we have some suggestions. So Ulla brought, we need more suggestions. Ulla put in the ones that we got on last stream. And this is not for the 404, but this is AK. She said that
she said that we could have one like that, but with an octopus like that.
Yeah. So her friend could make one for us. And then we have one that Ulla has, maybe. And then we have one that Ulla has drawn by...
No, that's Lillian! No, that's not me! That's Lillian!
Lillian has drawn and colored. And then there's the one that Ulla has drawn and Lillian has colored. This is my favorite so far.
I like that one.
Yeah. And then that's it. So if you have any other suggestions or kids' drawings or anything, just pop on over to the discussions, and we'll try to make it a lively place to hang out for Gatsby info.
I like the octopus, Ulla, and well done, Lillian, and you. Night, Mark.
Night. And then Brooke says, he doesn't look this way. Yeah. So I should do a tiny summary, and then we can do the goodbyes. I should probably have done this after the...
Yeah, sorry, I need to go now, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, bye-bye.
Good night. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye. Bye.
We have been bantering past our time, so... Okay, now I can't see you, Ulla. There you are.
I'm right there.
Well, maybe I'll make me big. No, that was... Oh, there you go. I made you small.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, so Mark is saying I'm rethinking. It's more like Norseman. So I guess you've been having some talks in the chat there. I didn't catch all of them. But today, well, maybe I should show the code. We'll do a quick recap, even though Paul did one like 10 minutes ago, and then we'll say our goodbyes. There we go. So today we did all of our code in Gatsby Node.js. We added that file, and then we required the Google's API, and we also got our end variables from our end file. So not that interesting. But the interesting stuff is happening here in the source nodes, where we're hooking into the Gatsby build process. And we are then saying that when... Well, see, now it's been too late for me. I can't do the summary.
Do you want me to
try again? So when inside of source node, we then called YouTube API. We ask it to list out all of my videos, or we don't really. We're just asking for the 2 last ones. So this would be fast on stream. And then we get the response, and we go through all of the responses, and we create a Gatsby source node for it. And why we do that is so that we can get it in the graphical layer, content layer, I guess. And we can see it here in the graphical browser. I ask for all YT, which is what I called the type of the source node. And then we do all edges, nodes, and snippets. And we can see here that we get the correct description, title, and then channel title, because that would be my channel. So that's how you can source whatever you want into the kind of content system of Gatsby. That was a fair summary.
Well done. That was good. Well done. Good. Nicely done.
It's good. We're going to keep these an hour, because like at the hour, I was starting to lose my focus. So now I'm going to do all of us. So we say good night and bye-bye to everyone, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe and all of those things I have to say now that I'm a YouTuber. And we can see you also in the discussions over at the Nattermob.dev repository. Bye-bye.
Bye. How long are we waving?
Until
Keep waving all
well, see, I'm going to do bye.